Hi, and welcome.
I'm Z.
And I'm Keith.
And we're going to tell you about the movie that we just watched. But first, a little bit of a heads up.
Some of the movies we watch deal with heavy subject matters.
In order to talk about these emotionally delicate things and the heavy subject matters that we sometimes cover, we add humor and crude language to add some levity and to process our own trauma.
If that doesn't feel fun or safe for you, we completely understand. Please take care of yourself first and foremost.
And we spoil the end of pretty much every movie that we watch.
Now you know. On with the show. Here she come now, singing Monet, Monet.
God.
More.
Okay.
Remember when Billy Idol covered that?
Covered what?
That song.
Oh, yeah.
We did do a lot of it, right?
Yeah, we did.
We did, okay.
We did.
Hey, welcome to...
Welcome to another episode.
Thanks for liking and subscribing and for being here and also being one of our patrons.
Yeah.
We love it.
We do love it.
Thank you. Hey, also, real question. How do we get ads?
What do you mean?
Like, I'd be happy to
Oh, yeah.
shill for stamps.com or
Yeah.
Adam and Eve even.
Or
Apparently
even
they're back.
if you want us to promote your podcast or your artistic endeavor on our podcast, just give us $20 and
A month.
we're happy to talk about it to all 5 listeners, including the person paying us to do it.
Seriously, I was thinking about local businesses because I think our comrade in podcasting, Sven, his podcast does local ads, I think.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And they're also on a local podcast network, so.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway,
cool.
I don't have to leave any of this in.
That's fine. I don't know any
Thanks
of
for
that.
being here.
Yeah, thanks.
Today we're talking about the 1986 film.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And you know what that means.
I was a year old. Is that
Danger Zone?
Oh my God. Here he go again.
Yep.
This is our first episode.
Let me tell you about what I've learned since our episode on Jumpin' Jack Flash. What I've learned further about the Iran-Contra. Just kidding, I won't. Just kidding, you can.
I don't know. What are we calling it? I don't know. This is the first episode we're recording, so I don't think I haven't come up with
we don't have a name for the theme
for it.
Other than Irish
Saint
guys
Neil Jordan month. I don't know. Whatever. Saint Patty's Jordan. I don't know.
Faith and Gomorrah.
Faith
No.
and Gomorrah? What?
No, what is it? It's a...
I don't know what you're... I literally don't know what you're talking about.
There's some thing you say on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh. Faith. I think it's Faith and Gomorrah. I think you got it right. Faith and Gomorrah. Sclaunchy?
No, not Sclaunchy. I mean, that's one of them, but Aaron Gabra is what I'm thinking of.
Hip. Hit me. Hit me.
What is it? There's also something that sounds like...
Isn't it what you just said?
That doesn't... Aaron Gabra doesn't sound like Faith and Gomorrah. Two of my favorite tech metal bands, by the way.
So anyway.
Yeah.
We watched the first of our Neil Jordan series.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neil Jordan is a director that I enjoy because he does shit like this. He does really weird, shit that
Yep.
doesn't really fall into the spectrum of like like, oh, what is it called? Like,
I don't know. Genre,
yeah,
mainstream,
well, yeah, mainstream. There we go. Mainstream Hollywood kind
or
of
like
movies.
lamestream.
He doesn't really do
Yeah.
necessarily what you'd expect. And as I've said so many times, he's just
He's
making
definitely
shit
got a
queer.
commitment to queerness.
He everything he does is like, but also we need to make this queer too. Obviously, there needs to be a queer relationship in this. He's like, I like truly, it's mind-boggling. I'm like, Neil Jordan is a homosexual, and as discussed in the lobby, nope, he's apparently not. I mean, I'm not going to say he's not
Right.
bisexual or queer in any way, but if I would never be surprised
He's
to find out.
confirmed to have been married to 2 women who seemingly are cis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which,
If you
whatever,
told
I mean-
me, if you were like, oh, yeah, Neil Jordan's a big ol' homo, I'd be like, oh, duh. Like, I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. I say homo in the affectionate way. Yes,
Yeah, and
homo.
it's, I mean, I think, again, once we watched The Crying Game, his most infamous of films, it's not uncomplicated. It's not without issue.
Is you. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like, I definitely have some mixed feelings about this film and its portrayal of
Yeah.
all kinds of relationships.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It doesn't seem quite fetishizing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think you can make arguments, but I think it's ultimately him including queer relationships
Yeah.
on par with straight ones.
Yeah, but also like it's not done in a way that like they're complicated and messy, just like they're not, but it's not
Right.
in a sense of like they're not fetishized, but they're also not like glamorized, but they're also not any different than any of the other relationships. Like,
Yeah,
if,
that's kinda what
if
I mean.
someone has a
Yeah.
problematic relationship that's straight, there's also a problematic relationship
Right.
that's queer. There's not. It doesn't really set
it's
it
like equal
apart.
footing,
right?
sort of.
And it's so wild that
It's definitely unusual, unfortunately.
yeah. And I'm not saying that like there's no issues with Mona Lisa or like it's a perfect film or something like that, but like it's also really interesting the way that they are like. It's super fascinating. It's basically a movie that surrounds sex work. Like it's all
Yeah.
about sex work
Right.
and the the ways that there are. I felt like maybe I'm wrong in
Yeah.
how it was depicted, but I felt like ways that it can be empowering versus ways that it takes your power away, and how
Yes.
like there. Okay, so the tagline for this movie, I thought it was
Oh, boy.
I thought it was really interesting because it's like it's not. I don't know why it's called a tagline because it's like I don't know, like a phrase, like it's a whole phrase, but like hold on, let's see. I think oh my god. Sometimes my the tagline. Okay. Oh, the synopsis. Sorry, it's not the tagline. A film about a song, about a painting, about a woman, about men, and the images they make of women, the stories they need to tell themselves to keep them mystic, unfathomable, anything but real.
Ooh!
I was like, oh, Jesus.
Who wrote that?
Right. I don't know, but I'm like, oh my God, probably Neil Jordan.
Right.
But like, that's the thing where once I read that, I was like, okay, no, I do appreciate the movie now because from that, I'm like, oh, right. It's not telling you, like, she repeatedly emphasizes that she is not a woman for a man. Like, she is not going to be the person that they go home with. She is not, that's not who she is. And he still does the thing where, and she tells him, she fucking tells him. And I when she told him this, I was like, oh, this is, she was like, they fall in love with who they imagine me to be or who they, you know. And he's just like, who's that? And she's like, whoever they want me to be.
Right.
And he's like, oh. And then she's like, who do you think I am? And he was like, a lady. And that's where, you know.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, it's like, that's where it starts, is like, she literally tells him that men do not know her.
Right.
They assume they know her.
Well, that's a recurring thing. Like, do you like her? I don't know her, do I?
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's like, I also love, I fucking love it so much. It's so, I love how non-judgmental he is of her job, though. He'll be like, was it good? Did you have a good time? And she's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with you? But he'll just be like, was it a good one? Like, he, and he thinks he's being, it's so good because he's just like, did you have fun? She's like, shut the fuck up.
Right.
Like, like, and they really do have like a rapport that's great. And for her, yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting. And I think he's not, like, obviously not, like, I don't think you're supposed to, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think you're supposed to realize that they're both flawed. Like, she's not, you know, the realness of her is not that she is actually a bad person. It's that she actually just isn't who you're assuming she is. You know, she's not doing, you know, she's not leading him on. She's not telling him things that aren't true. She's not, you know.
Yeah.
And oh boy, I love the scene where she whips the fucking shit out of him over and over and over. I was like, I mean, a little hot, but also he just, like, he slaps her and then she slaps him and then she gets a fucking whip and hits him over and
in the
over.
face.
Over and over and over. And he's just like, his eyes are just like really watery and he's just like,
you fancy me, but having me is nothing, George. Any prick can have me. Shut up. I'm screwed by old men so fat I have to lift myself onto them. Don't hit me, George! Nobody hits me! They can have me, but they can't hit me! That fucker did! Every day, every hour, every day! Whenever he had a spare minute!
Oh, I fucking loved it. I was like, this is an amazing, I was like, I absolutely love this scene. So and also like, why are you going to, she's upset. She's not doing this in a sexual way. She's not doing this to turn you on or do anything. She doesn't think, she's mad at you. She's hitting you repeatedly and you're still like, what a perfect girl. What? I think we might be in love, you know? It's really interesting. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'll give that sort of trigger warning or whatever. There's a fair amount of physical violence.
For sure.
I mean, you know, like he is very rough with her several times and then it's patched up immediately.
Well, I think but also it's interesting because it's established, which I appreciate, that it's not about who she is. Like, he's not doing this just to her. It's established at the beginning.
That's true.
When
that it's him.
That he has like an anger problem.
Yeah, right.
So I appreciated that in the sense that they're showing you that he has issues. Like, he already.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Like, this is not directed at her. It's something that he would normally do anyway, which I think is important because I think it lets you know that he's not hitting her or like being rough with her because she's a sex worker.
Yeah.
He's doing it because that's how he would normally behave. Because, I mean, at the beginning, he is like immediately an empirically flawed character from the moment, like, he has flowers and a gift or whatever, and he's coming home to see his daughter after, I guess, he's been in prison for a long time. And she doesn't know who the fuck he is. That first scene, though, was terrifying at first. Neil Jordan did a good job with that because this little girl, like, she's probably like 14 or something, 14 or 15. She opens the door and she's like, can I help you? And he was like, just standing there, and she's like, do you want
he's silent,
mom? And then he hands her a bouquet of flowers, like daisies or whatever, and she's like, Mom! And the mom comes out and is like, no, you're not allowed to see her.
Yeah? Do you want Mum? Mum?
Love. Julie, get inside. Get
Just
inside.
let her
It's
talk
all right.
to her.
No, you
Just
can't.
don't do this to
You've
me.
been away
She's
too
my
fucking long. I
daughter.
don't care.
You've been it,
I
Dawn. Just a
won't.
minute. It's
She
all I'm
don't
asking
know you,
for.
George, and she don't want to know you. I
She's
don't
my
want to
daughter.
And then you realize that he's her dad. He's not actually like trying to court this child.
Right.
But they really, I swear to God, I was like, oh, I hate him so much. You know, so they give you some ambiguity to like not be sure about him from the get-go, which I'm like, that's
Right.
so fascinating.
Well, not only does he
and then
get
he
into
just,
it with
right.
his ex or whatever,
Yeah.
his
He then
baby mama
throws-
he then trashes the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
He
Well, not the whole neighborhood.
he throws garbage.
Yeah.
He throws a trash can full of trash at their front door, and like dumps garbage everywhere.
And a crowd
and then,
forms.
And people are like, "What the fuck, dude?" And he grabs someone else's garbage and just starts like
Yeah.
dumping it everywhere and kicking it around. And they're like, "Are you going to clean that up?" And then he starts to try to get physical with them.
Right.
And his friend has to come in and be like,
continues to
"Okay,
escalate,
okay, nope." And it's this thing where, you know, you're seeing that like he does not know how to control his temper.
Right.
He's like a fucking hothead. He doesn't care. Like he doesn't really think things through, and he's very impulsive. And so it's a really great way to set up him as a character without really doing much, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's so, yeah. I don't know. This is why I like Neil Jordan, because he tells you stories that aren't clean. Like it's not going to be a clean cut story from beginning to end. It's going to be a little bit messy. And the characters are not going to be great. Like they're not just going to be great people who don't fuck up, who don't make mistakes,
Yeah.
who don't do it wrong or guess wrong or get it wrong or whatever. And yeah, that's so interesting to me. I don't know, whatever. This was an interesting movie. I like
It was. It definitely kept my interest.
for sure.
The pacing is really fascinating, and like, yeah, all that happens. That's like the first.
First like 5 minutes of the movie. if
Yeah.
that.
Within 10 minutes, you understand that he's got a child with somebody who doesn't want anything
Yeah.
to do with him. You understand he's got this long-term friendship with Robbie Coltrane's character, and that he used to work for some
Gangster
crime
type,
boss.
Yeah.
but the game has changed, and anyway, and he's got a car. He's got this nice car. That,
Yeah.
oh shit, what's his name? I want to say Troy, but I know that's not right. He's Robbie Coltrane.
Yeah. Kept for
Thomas.
him. Yeah.
Kept for him, and yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
And just it's done really. I'm sure there's expose via dialogue, but it's not.
Right.
It doesn't
It's
feel
not
that forced.
Yeah.
So
And you see him, this is another thing I like, when he comes out, like he's wearing, because she's like, it's been 12 years or something.
7,
like,
I think.
okay. Well, he says 7 later, but she says it's been 12 years.
Oh, okay.
I think.
His ex, you mean?
Yeah. And she's like, you've been away for 12 years or something like that,
Okay.
I think. I think she says that. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, then oops, I'm sorry. Anyway. You see him, and I'm like, okay, this is 1986. So 7 years ago would be
Was the
79, which would explain why he's wearing fucking bell bottoms.
Easy.
Yeah, he's wearing like a suit from the 70s. You know, like 7 to 10 years
Yeah.
would explain his lack of fashion.
Yeah.
And like, you know, what's her name?
Simone.
Simone. Is like, what the fuck are you wearing? It's so good. Like immediately she just roasts him nonstop. And she's just like, you dress like shit. You look terrible. I can't believe you're, you know, she's just like, oh my God. And she gives him money and she's like, you have to buy new clothes. And then he buys clothes. And she's like, are you fucking kidding me? This is what you decided to buy? And he's like, what? I bought new clothes. You said to buy new clothes. You didn't. And they're both right. She
Yep.
didn't give him any sort of, you know, constraints. and he's she's like, oh my God. She's like, you have to look inconspicuous because he's wearing like a fucking
Super
Hawaiian
bright,
shirt.
loud ass shirt. Yeah.
And okay, so the premise of the movie is basically he gets out of prison and he like went to prison for this crime boss played by Michael Caine. I keep forgetting his name. I'm like, really? Michael
Jordan.
Something. Yeah. Anyway. Which you don't see Michael Caine for like a little while because it's apparent or becomes apparent or like seems like Michael Caine's character is avoiding him. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I went to prison for you. I didn't rat on you or whatever. And this is what you're doing, And he's just like, whatever, dude. Anyway.
You know what I think?
What do you think?
I think that you think I left you in the shit.
We did, didn't you? Kind of.
Have a drink anyway, Jill. Life goes on happening. We can't control it. We can only swim in it.
So
you think you were in the shit for me. I don't know who that was.
It's my fucking birthday.
It's my fucking birthday.
It's my fucking birthday.
I wish I had a good Michael Caine.
I know. I
feel like I should be able to.
Anyway, so, okay. So he goes...
What's that movie with Steve Coogan and the other guy and they go on a trip? It might be just called The Trip. They made a couple of them. But in the first one, they're at dinner and they're competing with their Michael Caine impressions.
That's amazing. I'm unfamiliar. Anyway, so...
You'd probably like it, I bet.
So...
It's my fucking birthday.
So, anyway... Bob Hoskins, he gets out of prison. His wife doesn't want anything to do with him. She basically tells him he's not allowed to see his daughter or whatever. He meets up with his old friend, and then he goes...
His friend rescues him.
Well, yeah, his friend rescues him, and he's like, take me to...
rescues him from himself.
He buys a white rabbit, okay?
Oh, that's right.
And goes to see... Like, he goes
Still
to
unclear what that's meant to symbolize.
I don't know. So... He, I know it's, they don't really ever explain it, but
there's some pretty great wild. The movie's weirder than it seems.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's very
right because there's some wild ass shit.
This is what I'm saying.
Like as we're starting to describe it, I'm like, yeah, that's weird.
So he has his friend take him to like this bar where I guess he used to hang out or where.
It's the front for the guy.
And he's like, you can't keep doing this. He's like, the game has changed. And he's like, well, has Michael Caine changed? And he's like Donnie or something like that. And he's like,
no, that's there's Dudley. Well, Michael Caine is like Modoc or something.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's like Moloch.
Mortwell.
That's what I said. Mortwell.
I would have never.
So he's like, anyway, so he goes in there and they're like, oh, we haven't seen you in a long time. And he's like, do you have work for me? And they're basically like, no, bye. And he's like, come on. He's like, you have to have something for me. And so they're like, okay, we need a driver. And he's like, cool, I can drive. So they give him a fucking pager, which is hilarious. Because he has it's 1986 and he has a fucking pager. And basically when he's paged, he goes to this place. I don't know if the pager tells him where to go or if he has like a note. The first time. Well, he gets a page and then he looks at this piece of paper and then he drives to the hotel. And he goes to this nice fancy hotel and
a piece of paper phone call.
Yeah, he has a piece of paper phone call. And he goes to this hotel and he doesn't really know what he's doing. But he's in his like 70s bell bottoms.
Oh, right. And he walks in and
he's like, I want to
bar?
Yeah. He's like, where's the bar? And they're like, just tell me what you want. And I'll bring it to you.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. So he's like, just walking around and he's very sticks out like a sore thumb, does not belong there. Everybody's looking at him. And then.
Yeah. I think you said it's a kind of meant to be an upper.
Yeah, it's upper class. It's like
there's standing wait staff.
Yeah,
the guy he talks to asks where the bar is. Is this a guy who's there waiting to take orders?
Right.
Drink orders or whatever.
And so Simone comes down.
Upscale. That's the word I was looking for. Jesus.
And then Simone comes down the stairs, and Simone is
Chased
like,
by the manager.
well, yeah. So as she comes down the stairs, the manager's like, "What are you doing here?" And so she sees Bob Hoskins, and I guess she immediately knows he's the one. And she's like, "Come on, let's go." And he's like, "What the fuck?" And she's like, "You need to pretend that you know me." And he's like,
I don't know you, do I?
Yeah, he's like, "Who the fuck are you?" You know, and it's this whole thing. And
Yeah,
so,
she takes him by the arm.
yeah, and like they like start
like, "Where's
rushing
your
out.
car?"
Yeah, and they run out or whatever. So he's like, "What the fuck?" You know, and she's like, "Where the hell did they get you from?" You know, and he basically drives her around to all her appointments, and that's his job, is to take her from place to place. And I think she pays him. I don't know if she pays him or if they pay him.
No, I don't think she pays him.
Well, no, because she says, "You work for me," or something like that. Or he's like, "I don't want to take money from you," or something. And she's like, "But you work for me." So, and he's like,
but he
"Yeah."
also implies Mortwell is later. He says,
Yeah. Well, no, I know. But
your
I'm
boss
saying,
and my boss.
I'm not saying who he's literally working for. I mean, like, who he's getting paid by.
yeah. No,
I mean, like, directly, not like they pay her and then she gives him, like, they might pay her and then she gives him a cut, is what I'm saying. And I'm not sure if that's what's happening or if they.
okay.
Anyway. So.
But I like that, again, like the opening sequence.
Yeah.
We're finding out at the same time as him
Yeah,
what
yeah,
the
yeah.
fuck is going on. Like, it's very disorienting.
Yeah. And I was like, at first I was like,
And the dialogue is very not expository, right?
right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So yeah, so he ends up taking her, you know, to different places. He takes her to, they call him the Arab, and I think that's usually her last stop. And then he takes her
Of the night, yeah.
and then he takes her. She asks to go by this certain street.
Oh, yeah.
And-
King's Cross.
King's Cross. And so he drives her to King's Cross, and it's basically where,
It's a meat market. It's just,
where like sex workers hang out to, you know, try to like hook or whatever, try to pick up a John. And she like, you see that this happening a few times. Like, you know, she tells him he needs to buy better clothes. So she gives him money and he buys dumb clothes. And they get in an argument about it. And then like he's always like really quick to get like pissed off, and then he'll immediately realize that he is wrong, and then he like, which is also dangerous, right?
sure.
Because he's like, "Oh my God, I'm wrong," and then he is profusely apologetic, and then he's like, "I'm sorry," but then generally he doesn't usually do the same thing again, like not about the same stuff. Like he's not
Yeah,
repeatedly
that's
getting
fair.
mad about the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, why it's tricky is because it can read in the same way that we see in media
Yeah.
the cycle of
Correct.
abuse.
Yes.
Of
But right. And I think
honeymoon.
right. Correct. It's not quite like that though, because he
No, you're right.
isn't getting mad about the same shit
You're
over
right.
and over again. It's usually when something is presented to him as a surprise, and he doesn't know how to, like, he doesn't have any emotional regulation. Essentially, like he's just
Who's
like
on the spectrum? I suppose.
oh no, he just can't emotionally regulate. You know, and then he realized like he has to get really mad, and then he's able to like calm down and be like, okay, now I can look at it. You know, normally he
Rationally,
just like
more
doesn't.
rationally,
Yeah, he doesn't have the ability. Like it seems like anything that is a surprise to him, anything that is any kind of new information, immediately makes him just angry.
Fly off the handle.
Right, and then after he understands, he's just like, cool, okay, now we can go on.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying is better. I'm just saying it's a little different.
different.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
quite
you're right,
a
you're
cycle
right.
of abuse, because it just means that if you're lying to
But I
someone,
will say that's what was hard about it for me.
correct
Is that
for sure. Yeah,
he so quickly turns around, and then
Yeah.
Simone especially seems to forgive him every time.
right. But I think it's because they explain that to her it looks like a tantrum, because she's so used to like actual physical violence
Yeah.
and abuse, and so to her it's just like, oh, you just seem like a spoiled child. So she's not reading it as danger.
Yeah.
It's how it's coming across.
No, and I think that's probably the intention or
Yeah.
something like that. And I think there's so much every relationship is like that.
Yeah.
In that there's room to read that complexity into everyone's behaviors.
Right.
And by complexity, I mean like complex compared to most movie and TV relationships. Not, like I'm not saying complex beyond normal human interactions, but like for a media representation, like it's just not as prescriptive. So it's like, oh, it could be this. So
right.
I mean, I did know because I've seen other films and television shows that the reason she was having him drive her by the meat market is because she was looking for someone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's never. I didn't get the sense that we were even supposed to think that she was looking to hire someone. I don't think it's ever meant to. But anyway, turns out when she worked the street, she
had a best friend. They were roommates.
Who were pimped by both Anderson. By one guy,
Mr. Anderson. And he was really abusive and really terrible. And she asks,
and her friend, her fellow sex worker, Kathy, was very young.
Yeah. But it is...
And has a habit.
Yes. Simone is still doing sex work, but she no longer works for Mr. Anderson, or she doesn't have a Ponce, right?
Yes.
Ponce. Because she just happened to this is what's really interesting about this is that it's truly like this. Like in sex work, it's all luck. Like with anything, but
sure.
I have talked to.
She met a guy with a ring.
Right.
He took her to Bristol.
One day, I couldn't take it any longer. Met a man with a gold ring who took me to Brighton. When I woke up, he was gone. I didn't mind. Saw the sea outside. Met another on the pier, and that paid the hotel bill. Stayed the whole summer. Even managed to save. I came back to London, met the man with the gold ring again. Learned about the West End hotels then. And a different world.
She found another guy on the boardwalk and he paid her hotel bill.
Right.
And she stayed there the summer. And then, basically, she realized that she could do this.
Own.
She could
sort of.
Engage in a higher market. But she ended up just, the guy with the ring picked her up off that street.
Yeah.
So it's she just happened to be the one that he picked up, and then she ended up being basically a high class escort.
That man was Neil Jordan.
Interestingly enough, though, he hired real sex workers for the movie.
Oh, really?
Simone isn't a sex worker, obviously,
sure.
but the
all
people, all the people who were, were supposed to be sex workers were sex workers. Yeah. Which is so shit like that. Again, I'm like, okay, King. Neil Jordan repping the sex workers.
What's her name? The actor's name? Tyson. Kathy Tyson.
Yeah.
Playing Simone.
Yeah.
Who, when she first appears, I said, is it J. David?
Literally, I don't, very surprising to me because her character looks so much like Dell from the Crying Game. So similar. And not in, in how they dress and their hairstyle. Maybe Jay Davidson is a little bit shorter.
Oh, is it Davidson?
I think it's Davidson, yeah. Or Davison. I don't know.
I thought it was just Davis.
I know. I always want to say Jay Davis. I don't know why. I think Jay Davis is someone like a. She found it. She having technical issues.
Girl. You don't even know.
Yeah, it's very, and I feel like I don't feel like it was done on accident. Also, I feel like it's.
Well, also,
I feel like
Simone is. Her character is black.
Yeah.
And the actress, I assume, is black.
Yeah.
So is that blackface they're doing for Dale? Because
No. Why would that be blackface? He's. That's how he looks.
all right.
That's his actual look.
I didn't know he was that dark.
Yeah.
You're right. Davidson.
Davidson. Jay Davidson.
Hot dog.
Yes, you're correct.
What's up, hot dog?
His father is from Ghana.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Shit. Look at me being all kinds of wrong about that person.
Yep.
What else is new? Okay, we're going to take a break real quick. Be right back. The nozzle is calibrated. Fincher Brothers, 20 years old.
Oh yeah, you told me that the other night.
You were
when I
already
had
asleep.
what I was.
I know. I'm sorry. Fuck.
Was it the night that I had a migraine?
I can't
too?
do nothing correct.
Was it the night that I had a migraine?
Probably. Jesus.
I don't. Keith has a disease where where.
Let's call it a disorder.
Okay, Keith has a disorder. Where the moment I am no longer able to communicate is when he is at his chattiest. Keith is not happy right now. You can cut this out of the episode. Tit for tat. Why are you mad at me? It's just so funny. It's really funny to me. It's never funny in the moment because I'm always falling asleep. I know that I mentioned this and I know you're tired of hearing it, but the time that I had my back to you and you were reaching your phone over me and putting the phone into my face and saying, check this out.
My favorite example one was just reading every film from 1999.
Keith
Well, you're
read every
snoring.
Was on Wikipedia reading every
That one. This is
Every
one of those
film
things
from
that is exacerbated by alcohol, and that was an evening where I'd imbibed. So
You said you went down the list of every movie that existed in 1999 and you asked if I had watched it. And surprisingly, I had seen most of them.
you had. So
And
a worthwhile experiment, I'd say.
it's true. Yeah, I didn't mind that one. It's just like, you were like, you want to do another year? And I was like, please let me sleep. Please. Because I think you started doing 2000 or something. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. It's something where
It also rears its head. It used to when we were in a long distance relationship, and at the end of the night, getting off the phone, you would be like, "Okay, I'm gonna go," and I'd be like, "Okay, well, here's everything that happened to me today."
I know my favorite way that it rears. It's so you get so upset when I'm like, Keith, it's happening. You just
It's hard to accept about myself.
I don't even know if alcohol has to do with it. It's just like as soon as I start to get tired, Keith just starts reading about random movies out loud on IMDb.
Specifically IMDb. Let me tell you every movie this person has been in.
He'll be like, flippity bop drawers. And I'm like, what? And he'll be like, stars. It stars Andrew McCarthy and Cicely Tyson. It's from 1992. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And you're
that
like,
movie
it's
is
a movie.
Flippity Boppity Drawers. Look
like,
it up. Look
and
it up.
He's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, where did this come from? And he's like, I just saw it on IMDb. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then he's like, but it'll just be like, oh shit, it's got Stephen Ray in it. And I'm like, flippity boppity drawers? And you're like, oh no, it's another movie that I saw that stars this other person that was had a cameo in Flippity Boppity.
I was a screenwriter on Flippity Boppity Drawers. They also were
and I was just like,
a PA on this movie with
But my favorite thing though is that
CCH Pounder.
You'll just start naming random movies, and I'll be like, what?
Yeah. Guess what they have in common?
And I'll be like, they all star the same person. You'll be like, nope.
Don't be ridiculous.
They all have the same sound director, and I'm like, hey, why would I guess?
Okay, that's too far. Sound director, composer, maybe.
Fucking Andrew McCarthy and Cicely Tyson. The only like when I start riffing, I don't come up with the best. I come up with the first thing I can think of, which is usually the only thing that will come to my mind. Yeah. Like I'm never like,
Cicely Tyson is interesting because it's not Kathy Tyson who's in this
Kathy
movie.
Tyson? Oh,
Simone.
True that. Well, I don't know her enough to.
I don't know her, do I?
I don't know her enough to have retained her name. I barely know who Simone is.
And though I know the name, I would not recognize a photo of Cicely Tyson, I don't think. I mean, I would not attach the face and the name, is what I mean.
Okay.
I'm not proud of that fact.
Anyway, Mona Lisa. I feel like
anyway, Leslie Jordan. Not Leslie Jordan. R.I.P. Leslie Jones is what I was trying to say. R.I.P. Alex Kingdom. May he reign.
This is usually my job. My job is usually to get the names wrong. So I have one job. Don't take it away from me.
Here's the thing. You get the names incorrect. I just cannot say them properly. They don't come out my mouth correctly.
It's super interesting. It is. I feel so bad because Keith will say something not perfect or whatever, however you would say it. And sometimes he will...
I'll repeat it the incorrect way.
He'll repeat it the incorrect way. And then I'm like, I have permission to laugh. And then sometimes he still gets mad at me.
Yep.
I have to wait for him to say it a second time to know it's okay to laugh. Because sometimes if he just says it wrong or, not...
Usually I do it because I know you've noticed. I know you've clocked it.
By the fact that I turned my back to you.
And it's a way to diffuse my feeling bad about myself when because I know you're going to laugh. Try to get ahead of the game.
He somehow knows when I've clocked it by the fact that I turn my back to him and my shoulders start shaking. It somehow tells him that
I'm an empath. I have super hearing. Can I have a hug?
We Keith is just making me laugh. We've been watching SVU.
Oh, God. We sure have.
Keith loves it. Keith has figured out the formula
Oh, I cracked the code.
that every single person that is
I would never hurt them. I loved them.
every single
Every
episode.
episode.
I never noticed that. I'm actually surprised I never noticed that.
I am too. I feel like it's probably ramped up.
Maybe.
Not just my noticing, but
My noticing has ramped up since we started watching it.
also, as you clocked, every episode in season 9, is that what we're on?
Yeah.
Opens in the out of doors and finding a body in the woods.
I don't understand it. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Something definitely changed between 8 and 9 because, like, the soundtrack is different and
It's true. Yeah. They might. Yeah. I feel like these are the. Well, Adam Beach is on it now.
oh, that too.
It gets a lot of. It gets a lot of cast changes
It does.
from here on out.
Oh.
Yeah. Like it was very. Those four. Well, no, I think it. Anyway, whatever. This is not the SVU podcast.
Resistal.
So here's the thing. This is the only thing I'm going to say about Law and Order SVU.
Chunk.
Yeah, for the rest of this podcast. I love SVU because it's just like so like ridiculous. Law and Order though, I like the reason why I started watching SVU was because I was like a huge Law and Order stan back in the day. And like I was like 12 being like Law and Order is a good fucking show. And it's very like especially earlier it did a lot to like explain. I mean, I'm not saying Law and Order is like without fault or anything like that, but it did a lot of
It's all propaganda.
well, it is yeah. But I mean like it isn't in the sense that like I mean it totally is, but it's like it would explain sort of like the whole process of like how they discover a body,
Yeah, right.
how it go, you know, like how they track down. And it wasn't so much like you really didn't know if someone's gonna get convicted or not. You didn't really know. Like it was all like a lot of it was like ugh.
Yeah, the thing
And
it
they
did differently was
it was
highlighting the relationship between police and prosecutors.
correct. Yeah. And that was what
Which
it
is
was.
totally, every show does that now. right?
And-
Like Major Crimes did that.
Right, correct. Right, like so, but like Law and Order really did it in such a specific way, especially like back in the day, like when it was first on, and it was more formulaic in that the first half was cops, the second half was lawyers, and it was like first half cops, second half lawyers, and there was a connection between the two, obviously,
Right.
but it was like that was more of the formula, less so how like whether or not someone got off or not, whether or not they won the case or not, whether or not, you know, like whether someone got convicted or whether there was a mistrial. Like there was like lots of different things. And it was interesting because it did feel a little less, and I was younger, so I
Sure.
haven't watched it. Like I haven't watched like old episodes in a long time, but it did feel less emotionally charged. Like it was more about like they really were like, here's the facts that we found,
highlighting the process,
yeah,
the procedure.
yeah, correct. Like hence it being a procedural. So that's like it's funny. Like one of the reasons why SVU is so funny is because it does not do that at all. Like immediately they're like, Olivia Benson wants a child real bad, but she is a product of rape. So will her child rape? And you're like, what? Like I don't. That's not literally what it is, but like
No, that's what they say in the intro every episode. In New York City, Olivia Benson really wants a child.
so anyway, Mona
An
Lisa.
elite unit.
That's what I call her, mommy milkers.
Speaking of, like, I didn't know anything about Mariska Hargitay.
I think it's Mariska.
Okay. Yeah.
I think. I feel like I keep saying. I feel like I saw a thing. Like I used to say Mariska.
Is there an
and
H
then
in
I
it?
saw no, and I saw a thing that was like it's people say Mariska, but it's Mariska. And as soon as I saw that, I was like Mariska. So
Anyway, her mom was Jane's Mansfield. Jane's? I'm fired. I'm not allowed to talk on this episode anymore.
I am so sorry.
No, it's good.
It's only because her last name is Mansfield.
Right.
So it just
It
sounds
is.
like you're describing a place. I went over to Jane's Mansfield.
Oh, yeah. It's like Ruth Chris Pitts.
Exactly.
Welcome to Jane's Mansfield Theater. You know, like Man's Chinese, Man's Gromans. These are old Hollywood theaters.
Oh. The only like I feel like I didn't hate it as much as you did, but the boardwalk scene where he like gets all pissed off at her
Yeah.
for being a lesbian. Surprise.
He just plays that song, Your Woman or whatever, by White Town. I Could Never Be a Woman.
Oh.
Tee, tee, tee.
I could never be a woman. I could never be a...
I was so disappointed when I learned that song was about this scenario. I just assumed it was about a gay man pining for a straight man. But no, it's about a straight guy pining for a lesbian.
Ew.
So, anyway. The boardwalk scene.
Yeah. Like she... So she basically asks him to help her find her old friend Kathy, she was able to get out of like the bad situation she was in, but Kathy didn't, and she lost track of her, and she hasn't been able to find her. She goes to King's Cross and looks for her, but like she kind of has to be careful because like she gets seen one time and they're like, oh, Anderson's gonna cut your face off or whatever. So she ends up, it's really interesting though because she...
Yeah, it's confusing to me because it seems like this is way in the past, but probably...
Right, it's probably
like
not.
a year ago.
Right. So she asks him like to help her find, and so he basically goes looking for this person, and he goes to all these sex clubs, all these shops.
An
It's a great
amazing
scene.
sequence.
It's great because he gets so bored. He's so like disinterested in all of it.
Yeah.
And he's just like, no, I don't really, and they're like, oh, you want this girl named Kathy? Because he's like, her name's Kathy. She's blonde. She has a tattoo on her hand. And they're like, Kathy, blonde tattoo. They're like, we got her.
it.
She's upstairs, just waiting for you. And he's like, fucking hell yeah. And so he goes upstairs and he sees this girl and she looks similar, but he doesn't really know. And so he starts talking to her and he's like, oh, you're not. He's like, I'm actually looking for a specific person. She's like, I can be whoever you want me to be. Mm-hmm. And he starts like, because he has a daughter around the same age. So he like starts to do the thing where he paints her as like this innocent victim, which I'm not saying she's not, but he doesn't I think they do a good job of like letting you know it's a more complex situation than it's not just about I have a pimp and I need to get away from him.
Right.
Like it's not, it's like, it's a relationship. It's an abusive relationship. It's
Right. Because then he takes her for ice cream.
Yeah. He takes her for ice cream and she ditches.
Yeah.
and she ditches for Anderson, who, and he gets so like he's like trying to like he thinks he's trying to help her, but I think at that point he realizes that it's not what he thinks it is, and it's not. But I feel like they don't go into detail about like making the sex workers seem so, like taken advantage of, and they're just little girls, because it's not to say that they're not taken advantage of, but like it also like in telling that story of victimization, you do a lot of times remove any autonomy that they have.
Right.
Like just because the situation they're in is also taking away some of their autonomy, treating them like they have no presence of mind and they don't understand what they're doing and shit like that, that also removes their autonomy. And like, I think this is a thing of like showing how that's actually not going to help them. That's not going to get them to come to you, is to treat them like they don't know what they're doing. They don't know, all they need is just someone to help them. Like, that's not the situation that they're in, and you can be a survival sex worker.
He's great, and he's one of the reasons I wanted to watch this movie in the first place, but it's also an interesting dynamic that Bob Hoskins is like shorter, physically smaller than everyone.
Yeah.
Even the women's.
Yeah. Hilariously enough, Stephen Ray was offered the part.
Shut up.
And turned it down. I love it. That's so fucking funny to me. I don't know. I think it was him. Anthony Hopkins was offered the Michael Caine part and said, no, you should hire Michael Caine to do this.
Right on.
Yeah, and they did.
And then you said Hoskins didn't know.
Yeah. So Michael Caine plays like his boss or whatever, who is the guy that's been avoiding him. And I guess Michael Caine
is running the
whole gambit. I guess Bob Hoskins.
Gambit?
I don't know. That's what I said.
Gamut.
Yeah.
These are different words.
What does one mean versus what?
A gambit is like the Queen's Gambit.
Okay.
It's like a move.
Oh, okay.
Gamut is the whole gamut.
Okay.
Did I clear it up? Anyway, sorry.
Davidson is gay. That's
Okay.
also.
All right.
See.
Did you just get him?
I just opened it up and I saw that he married a man in 2017 and it says Davidson is gay. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay.
And that had come up because we were talking about Jay Davidson.
In the lobby.
Well, yeah. And also off mic. And my memory or perception was that, like, because when I first became sort of aware of him or aware of him after knowing he had played Raw and Dell, was that he was super jacked.
Yeah.
And
tattooed and all that shit.
Mask looking. So we were debating whether he was straight or not. Because I thought he was.
Well, I wasn't debating. I was telling you.
Fair enough.
Sorry. I guess Gambit is a device, action, or opening remark.
Okay.
That is calculated to gain an advantage, which is sort of some of the stuff that he's doing can default, because he is trying to use this stuff to gain an advantage. Michael Caine.
Okay.
He's doing these moves as a way to blackmail people. Like, not only, but like these things are a way, because he is sending Simone, he's part of how Simone is getting to the Arab while wanting
George
to
find out.
proof of what they're doing so he can use it against him. So it's like
Yeah, see, that wasn't. I wondered. I didn't feel like that was very clear.
So he's trying to do moves. So he is trying to. So it is sort of. It's like both.
I thought you were just referring to because I was that he runs all the illegal businesses.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, he's not.
Which is also very ambiguous. Like,
Yeah.
what? He's got those showgirls or whatever.
Yeah.
What is happening? Anyway.
Yeah, but that's what he's got his fingers in everything is more what I meant. Like, he's.
Ew.
I know. He said, "It's my fucking birthday," and he put his fingers in everything. But, you know, I'm just saying, like, I think what he does can fall under either one. Gambit is like a player or like a thing.
Gambit.
Gamut is like a thing.
Wait,
I think.
no.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I said it not. It's the complete range of things. Like, the gamut of something is the complete range of things, or a wide variety of things of that kind. So, like, you know. So I think, yeah, it falls under that, but it could also be seen as a gambit because, like, yes, it's a gamut because he has a lot of things of that kind, whatever that is. And also he's making moves. He's making money moves. So I think it could qualify
Cardi.
for both. Thank you. So
Cardi be moving.
So Bob Hoskins eventually finds the real Kathy, and he realizes that Michael Caine and Anderson are working together, and he basically rescues Kathy and brings her to Simone. And when he does, Simone is just like not flippant, but she just doesn't seem to give a shit about Bob Hoskins, and he's immediately just destroyed and devastated, which on the one hand you're like, I get it, but on the other hand you're like, okay, this girl's coming off of some drugs, so you're not that important, buddy. And so he gets pissed and they go to the boardwalk and he gets like livid, and he's being really physical and just like really shitty to Simone. Like, he's shitty and really and being physical about being shitty. Like, he's like holding on to her and like not letting her get away and like forcing her to like dance with him or whatever.
And like kissing on her and stuff.
Yeah.
So
And she's like, yeah.
That's a sexual assault.
Yeah. And she's like really, but he's like, I felt like it was, I mean, I'm not saying it was done great. I felt like he was saying like, this was the implication, you know, was that, you know
how it is between men and women.
Yeah.
Because they love each other. And they get married. So they can love each other more. And they have a little baby. Only a little one. And he fights with his fucking mother-in-law. You know the way it is between men and fucking women. Eh? Come and say something. Anything, say it.
I'm sorry. I can't.
And then she's like, I can't do that for you. And he's like, and he's like, oh, I did all this for a couple of dykes, I think he says, which is hilarious. Which I knew that as soon as Kathy was like, she really likes me.
Yeah.
And you know,
I wondered how explicit it was going to be because I was like, ooh.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's like, I feel like it ends. I'm not going to say exactly what happens at the end because I think you should watch it.
It is abrupt.
It's abrupt and it's very ambiguous, which I really fucking enjoy.
Is it?
Because I feel, I mean, I don't know what happens after. Like, I don't fucking know.
No, for sure.
I mean, it's ambiguous and it's not. Like, something definitely happens and then the after
Something else
effects.
happens.
And then the after effects of that are ambiguous. Like, you don't really know what happens to the
Sure
characters
don't.
after that. Yeah. And I enjoy that because I think any story, anything beyond that is either going to be disappointing or it's going to be like unbelievable. So I like that it sort of ends there and you're like, oh my God, and yeah, I don't know. You can hope for a happier ending.
Well, you get at least
Well, you see Hoskins.
you get at least
Yeah.
Hoskins lymphoma understanding that he's kind of moved on. You at least get a little piece of that he's like he was in love with her and she didn't love him back in the same way. So
Yeah.
And the dwarf is still killing opera singers.
That whole thing was very confusing. The way they would go back and forth with the story that he was like, I was the one that killed the horse. I'm like, wait, did you really kill a horse? I don't know.
No, because the first time it comes up is he's like, did you get my book?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but
It should have been this guy. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it is confusing. Not at all. It took me a minute to adjust to the accents. Mm-hmm. I'm not proud to say, but
there's a couple things that happened that I don't know what happened because
Yep.
they were talking and I was like, okay, well, cool.
Yep.
Went on to another scene and I was like, hopefully context helps me because I don't fucking know. But I think it's fun. Would you recommend?
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend if you like Neil Jordan movies.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend if you enjoy The Crying Game, this is less transy.
Is that an endorsement?
No, it's just saying, that's what this is. There's not trans characters in this. I would definitely recommend, I would say, you like to give caveats. I would definitely say trigger warning for, assault implications of sexual assault or talking about sexual assault and non-consent in the sense of kids having, teenage girls having sex, things like that. But I think it does a good job of not I feel like it did a good job of trying to treat sex workers like human beings. I love the scene where he goes into the place and they're like, do you have a ticket? And he was like, yeah, here's my ticket. And they're like, what do you want to drink? And he's like, I don't want to drink. And they're like, if you have a ticket, you have to get a drink. And he's like, okay, fine. So he just goes to the bar and they pour him some shitty wine or something. And he takes a drink and he's like, ugh. And he was like, hey, how much can I, someone's in the room over just making herself a cup of tea. And he's like, how much can I pay you to make me a cuppa? And she's like, fuck off. And I fucking love it because she's she's just in lingerie and she's like, fuck off.
Yeah, that's an interesting recurring thing is so maybe he is on the spectrum, his not doing the role correctly.
Yeah.
So not playing the part correctly in the interaction with a sex worker where he's supposed to be doing a transaction.
Right.
He's just treating them as another working person, basically.
Yeah, exactly, right. He's like, you're on the clock, so,
yeah,
let's...
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. But I think I think I've not seen, especially from fucking 1986, to show sex work as being treated at the same level as somebody just working under the table. No pun intended. You know what I mean? You're both, technically working illegally. You're not, you're on the up, you're not on the up and up. And that's the only thing that's it. That's that's how the jobs are viewed, is like both being not quite legal. So we're both the same. I've never seen, like, they always do the thing of like demonizing sex workers, making them really, you know, and he does say some shitty stuff about her sometimes, but something's growling. I hope that was my stomach.
I thought I felt it.
So, yeah, I don't know. It was just really
I was thinking about that too. Like, and again, I can't tell how much of this is, just time. Like how old it is versus that it's not an American film.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like super seedy. Like
correct.
If the fact that it's organized crime and
right. Yeah.
Sex work.
And it feels like the sex work is sort of treated as less harmful than the other things that are going on around it.
Yeah.
So that's another interesting thing where it's like the girls doing the sex work are treated like they're in a situation where they're doing what they can to survive, and the men around them are treated as the people that are exploiting them. But it's not done like these poor innocent girls that don't understand the real world. It's not like that. It's like,
and because you get mostly the perspective of George and a little bit, I guess, Thomas is the only other character who's also a different kind of hustler. He just is selling crap.
He's selling food.
Spaghetti sculptures and
the fucking
Virgin Mary lamps and shit.
The green Virgin Marys were, I love that.
Yeah. Anyway, like nobody's
bump.
You don't really see any upper class people.
Yeah.
Almost at all. If they do, they're just background in the hotels. They're definitely not glamorized. And like the only person who has like more money than, I mean, Simone clearly is doing all right for herself.
Yeah.
But like Michael Caine is the only other person who seems to have any kind of wealth.
Yeah.
And he's clearly a villain, you know what I mean?
Right.
Of sorts.
I do love the relationship between the Arab, as they call him, and Hoskins. Oh my God, it's so funny. And like that whole situation that goes on where they bring him like tea, like while he's waiting for her in the car, they bring him like tea and like stuff.
Because the first time he falls asleep, next time they go, she has... they take the guy sitting out tea to him. Yeah,
tea and coffee or like I don't know. And like sandwiches and shit, like they bring him stuff, and he brings it up, and he's like, "Who should I give this to?" And the guy, the Arab, is like, "I'll take it." And then he sees him out at a hotel. He sees him at the hotel
the first time he confronts Mortwell
with Michael Caine, and he's like, "Oh hey, how are you doing?" He's like, "How was she last time?" And Michael Caine's like, "Fucking stop!" He's just like, "No idea." He's like, "Did you have a good time? How's it been?" It's so good. That their whole interaction is so good, and then when Michael Caine tells him to get picked, like to find out what they're doing, and he's like, "What do you do?" And she's like, "We have tea," and he's like, "No, really?" She's like, "Yeah, we just have tea." And she sends out Polaroids of herself drinking tea. And I'm like, oh my God. And he gives it to Michael Caine. He's like, "Here you go." And he's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And he's like, "What? They're drinking tea. That's what she told me that they do. And then she gave me these pictures. So I don't know what you expect from me." And he was like, "Climb a fucking drain pipe and take pictures of him." And he's like, "No." That's okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I don't know what to do quite with, like, George is at times very childlike.
Yeah.
But not always, like, I don't think it's overdone. Like, he's not.
No. He's
not Lenny petting the bunnies.
Right. He seems to take people sort of at their word, and he gets upset when it feels like someone's word is not what they said.
Right, he's on the spectrum.
Maybe that's
You convinced me.
maybe that's also Neil Jordan. He wrote the characters, so
Maybe, baby.
Neil Jordan, if you're listening, I would love.
Neil Jordan, if you're on the spectrum,
You don't have to be on the spectrum, but I would love to hear from you. So if you're hearing this and you're listening
LOL.
and you want to talk, just give a holler. z.and.k.pod@gmail.com.
poopy outdoor dog.
And we will just shoot us a holler and we'll say hi back.
Holler back.
Yeah. Yeah. At me, Neil Jordan.
I say Michael Caine used to talk like this in the 1960s, right? But that has changed. And I say that over the years, Michael's voice has come down several octaves. Let me finish. And all of the cigars and the brandy, don't let me finish, can now be heard.
Okay.
I've not fucking finished in the back of the voice. And the voice now. I've still not finished. The voice.
You're panicking.
Because you look like you're about to bloody talk.
When I saw my best friend yesterday, she said she never liked you from the start. Well, me, I wish that I could claim the same, but you always knew you held my heart, and you're such a charming, handsome man. Now I think I finally understand. Is it in your genes? I don't know, but I'll soon find out, that's for sure. Why did you play me this way? Well, I guess what they say is true. I could never be the right kind of girl for you. I could never be your woman. I could never be your woman. I could never be your woman. I could never be your woman.
Can I have a hug?